lot of people.
The seemingly never-ending saga over building transit in Toronto is again on the front burner tonight. But will it mean getting shovels in the ground anytime soon? It all started with a few letters, and it has everyone from TO to QP to the TTC talking. We'll take you to Queen's Park, where, as you heard, Premier Doug Ford is promising to finally get transit built, but not only in Toronto, but around the GTA. At City Hall, some councillors pushed the metaphorical yellow strip on the subway, calling the plans terribly alarming. First, though, the changes and how it will impact you, the riders. Farah Morelli joins us live to help us sort it all out. And Farah, this latest round of transit talk stems from those newly released documents.
That's correct, Dwight. Up until now, the province really hasn't revealed much about what it would do if it controlled Toronto's transit system. And today, for the first time, we're getting a better picture of just what the Ford government's plans are from these letters. There are still a whole lot of unanswered questions, but if you are a regular subway commuter, here's what you should know.
You've heard it in the news.
They've also introduced the concept of uploading the subway system.
You've seen the protests.
Keep transit public! Keep transit public!
But what does a subway upload really mean? It seems very few actually know.
What subway upload?
The subway upload, like the province taking control of it?
No, I have not heard about that.
What do you mean by that? The subway pretty much every single day, right?
Here's what we do know about what the upload means so far. The province wants to put a lot of money into subway improvements, but with that, it wants control too. But what does that mean for riders? Well, that depends on what your commute looks like. According to a Ford government official, it wants to make big changes to 4 projects. The first is the Scarborough subway extension. As it stands now, the plan is to extend the line from Kennedy Station to Scarborough Town Centre. But the Ontario government wants 3 stops at Lawrence and Kennedy, Scarborough Town Centre, and McCowan and Shepherd. For the downtown relief line, the plan now is to run from Osgood to Line 2 at Pape Station. What the province wants is to have this line be freestanding. They're hinting at using a different technology for this line, meaning the trains couldn't continue onto Line 2. Then there's the Eglinton West LRT. Right now, what's being proposed is a 10-stop extension of the Eglinton Crosstown that runs from Mount Dennis west to Pearson Airport, running overground. The province wants to put parts of the line underground. And finally, there's the Yonge North line. The plan now is to have it extend from Finch Station up to Richmond Hill Centre. Right now, it's not a priority. But the province wants to speed this up and have it built at the same time as the downtown relief line.
Now, interestingly, Dwight, there is no mention in these letters of the Eglinton East LRT, the Waterfront LRT, or Smart Track, so it's unclear what the government's plans are, where those fall as priorities right now.
The province says this will get transit built faster, but for people taking the subway right now, what could this mean for their daily commute?
Yeah, that's the big question, Dwight. I mean, these are all long-term projects that we're talking about, and a lot of the complaints and issues that you hear from people about the TTC relate to signal issues or delays or problems that have to do with maintenance. We don't know anything about who would be controlling maintenance right now or where that lies when it comes to priorities. I had a chance to speak to a transit and planning expert about just that.
The maintenance issues are the ones that riders today are experiencing. We all like to talk about projects into the future and what could be and how it'll change our lives down the road. We have issues with our transit system today. We have overcrowding, we have delays, we have breakdowns, we have a massive backlog of maintenance requirements. And I think it's important for Torontonians to be hearing about how the province, through this upload, is going to be addressing those issues as well.
Now, Dwight, we also don't have a picture of how much these projects and the modifications to these are going to cost. A Ford government official told CBC today that there will be updates on that to come, but likely not before the upcoming budget.
Thank you, Farah. So let's pick up on what Farah just mentioned, the cost of all of this. The Ford government trying to dampen concern tonight that its plan will be more expensive or take longer to build. Our Queen's Park reporter Mike Crawley following that part of the story for us tonight.
We're going to build subways around the GTA, around Toronto,
Premier Doug Ford touts his government's plans for Toronto Transit, even though right now those plans leave a lot of unanswered questions.
Why is the Premier meddling with long-established transit plans, and why is he determined to delay and destroy transit plans that are already approved and underway in Toronto?
Ford government officials say they have reasons for their changes. They say the city's plan for the downtown relief line would rely on the outdated technology of Line 2. They say a 3-stop Scarborough subway was a PC campaign promise. And they say people in Etobicoke want the Eglinton West LRT extension underground. That would mean the Doug Ford Heartland gets a new subway. But at what cost? The transportation minister isn't saying.
Those details of the plan going forward will come out when we reach the timeline where the city and the province have come to agreement.
Well, you know what it means, though, is that we're going to see nothing being built when it comes to transit for many years in the future.
We're extending Eglinton. We're making sure we're building the downtown relief line. We're helping the people of Scarborough.
But from the Ford government today, no details on when any of these altered projects would be completed or how much they would cost. In an interview, the transportation minister insists you'll get some answers soon.
We're going to build the transit the riders are asking for. We're going to get that relief line built. It's going to be good for the city and good for the GTA.
Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
And we'll have more of Mike's interview with the transportation minister, Jeff Urick, coming up for you at 6:30. Brad Blair, the former OPP deputy commissioner who took on Premier Doug Ford over the Ron Taverner appointment, is now suing Ford for defamation. The allegation Ford maliciously ruined Blair's reputation in what the suit calls a deliberate act of reprisal. For that, he's seeking $5 million in damages. Blair had asked Ontario's ombudsman to investigate Taverner's appointment and released internal OPP documents. Blair was then fired by the province. Ford publicly said Blair was acting in his own interest because he wanted to lead the OPP, adding Blair violated the Police Services Act by going public. A spokesperson for Ford says the Premier will respond to the suit in court. Taverner eventually withdrew his name for the job.
The province has released its list of top public sector earners on its annual Sunshine List. I'll have the breakdown coming right up.
Found alive, Wanjed Liu was violently abducted over the weekend and was discovered last night in cottage country, more than 100 kilometers from where he was taken. Magda Graber-Selassie joins us live from his home now in Markham. And Magda, you actually spoke with the man who found him up in Gravenhurst.
I did, Dwight, and he called it a stroke of luck. Obviously, he has seen the news coverage on this story, and he was familiar with Wanjed Liu. And you're going to hear a bit more about how he found him in just a minute. But first, let me take you back to last night. It was around 9:30 when the word got out that Wanjed Liu, who goes by the name of Peter, was found alive. Now, he has been missing for several days. It was on Saturday around 6 p.m. that he was tased and kidnapped by 4 suspects, police say, and taken from the condo building that he lives in the underground parking lot area. Now, he was found a couple hours away, wandering in the dark, and now CBC has agreed not to identify the man who has found him. Given this case, he is concerned about his safety, but he had quite the story to tell. He said he was going about his business, that he had just let his dog out last night when he heard his dog barking. He thought it was another animal, but then he heard a voice asking for help. So he grabbed his flashlight and he went to investigate.
And I went out and found this young lad in distress at the side of the road and telling me that he had been kidnapped and could I call the police, which I did immediately. He didn't know where he was. He couldn't see because he didn't have his glasses. He was, part of his hoodie was all taped up in tuck tape. Oh, I had a rip in his jeans and a good cut on his one knee, and he was quite rattled. Very understandably so. He was very, very shook up, and I calmed him down to the point where I could get him into the house and we could get the police over to my place.
So Liu was taken to hospital and treated for minor injuries. We were told today he was interviewed by police, and a source tells us that ended hours ago, but police won't confirm that. In fact, Constable Andy Pattenton wouldn't say where Liu was today.
We have obvious safety concerns here. We still have 4 suspects that are still outstanding in this investigation. 4 suspects that were willing to go into that underground parking garage and took Mr. Liu with a significant amount of force, loaded him into a van, and basically kept him wherever they kept him for more than 72 hours before finally releasing him.
Now, he's telling those suspects to contact a lawyer and to turn themselves in. As for the 35-year-old Toronto man who was arrested yesterday, he has since been released. No charges have been laid. And Constable Pattenton says investigators believe that he was connected to this case, but there wasn't enough evidence to lay a charge. Dwight?
All right, this investigation is continuing. And back there, we also heard from Yorkville University today, and that's where Liu goes to school?
Yeah, so that is a private university that is at in the location of Keele and Steeles. We heard today that Liu is a student there taking a program in business administration. We already knew that he was a Chinese national studying here in Toronto. We also obviously knew that he lived in this condo and that he led a lifestyle that included driving high-end vehicles like a Lamborghini, a Rolls-Royce, and a Land Rover. But as for what the motive could be in this case at this point, police aren't saying anything right now on that front. The investigation continues there. And at this point, we don't know if Liu has in fact returned to his condo building here or he's laying low somewhere else, Dwight.
Thank you, Magda. She didn't want Brexit in the first place, but British Prime Minister Theresa May says she will resign in order to get a Brexit deal passed. We'll take you to London as the countdown to Brexit draws ever closer. Coming up. Right now, though, we check in with Colette and the forecast. Good news, Colette?
Well, it was good news today, right?
Sunshine?
Yeah, a beautiful day. You know, there is some good news, Dwight, and that's that the mild air is sticking around for another day or two, but some changes coming. All this sunshine because of high pressure, that's going to be deteriorating on us. So let me show you where the temperatures sit at this hour at 5 degrees in Toronto. Warmer in Markham, 8 degrees right now, 5 in Mississauga, and Oshawa at 4. Now, the winds out of the southeast in general, we're seeing that, not everywhere, but seeing that. And then tomorrow, what happens is they turn towards the southwest and they're going to get stronger. As they do, it's going to keep the temperature up, but it does mean we're going to have some breezy conditions. Not only will we see some gusts of 40, 50 kilometers an hour, we're going to find the clouds on the increase. So overnight tonight, clouds increasing. And then what comes next? Well, how about some showery activity? So the next system as it moves in, it's not terribly well organized. You can see that moisture wanting to surge up here tomorrow morning. So the clouds overnight, then morning showers developing. I think they'll be somewhat scattered in nature. Could have a few lingering still into the afternoon hours, and certainly the clouds will be lingering as well. And as I mentioned, those winds will be a little bit strong. But then as we ride this forward into Friday, the sun comes back, but we have changes coming for this right here. That's coming for the weekend. I'll fill you in on those details a little later, but overnight tonight, 1 degree with that increase in cloud and showers by morning, 9 tomorrow with still some scattered showers possible into the afternoon, Dwight. Was that good news?
It is good news. As long as we're staying on the positive side, we're all happy. Thank you,
Okay,
Colette.
we're there.
Fairview Mall is about to undergo a $100 million renovation, and it's about more than just shopping. More on the plan to bring more condos and a hotel to the area coming up after the break.
The weather update is brought to you by Train Extreme Conditions Testing. It's hard to stop a train, really hard. Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand.
Fairview Mall's history stretches back 5 decades, but its owners are now looking to the future, revealing a revamp for the mall that will cost tens of millions of dollars, and that's just the beginning. As Greg Ross shows us, the new plans go far beyond just a makeover.
The mall of today is a lot different from how you built malls 20, 30, 40 years ago.
Finley McEwen is the Senior Vice President of Development for Cadillac Fairview. He says in order to stay relevant, malls have to offer much more than just shopping.
People want lifestyle, they want interesting or urban streetscapes and a better pedestrian environment.
And that's what they're in the early stages of trying to create at CF Fairview Mall, starting with the now vacant space that used to house Sears.
We'll be completely gutting the interior of the store. We'll be introducing new malls and common areas, new best-in-class retailers.
Part of the renovation will also include creating a row of new restaurants with more outdoor pedestrian space, rooftop patios, and a vibrant nightlife. That's just the beginning of what they hope will be a complete overhaul of the traditional concept of a mall.
The future phases will include other uses like residential, office, hotel.
He says they're applying to the city to rezone the property. Instead of a place where people drive to go shopping, they want it to be a place that locals can walk to and spend the day.
They definitely do need some type of innovation.
People who live in the area say it's about time.
Of course, it's a good idea for the neighborhood, for the business, for the economy, for everything.
You think that would make you want to come here more often?
Yeah, sure, that would.
I think it's a necessity on a number of fronts.
This urban planner says in addition to keeping up with the changing retail landscape, malls have to adapt to the needs of a dense population that continues to grow.
Toronto is the city in the middle of the fastest growing urban region in all of North America, and it is seeing far more intensive reimagination, retrofitting of the urban fabric than any other city in North America.
It's going to be several more years before this project is complete. The first phase should start to take effect in the next 18 months. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
They were once at the center of an international hostage crisis. Now they're embroiled in a domestic assault trial. The estranged wife of Joshua Boyle began testifying at her former husband's criminal trial in Ottawa this afternoon. Boyle was arrested soon after he and Caitlin Coleman returned to Canada after being abducted in Afghanistan. David Thurton has more.
Today, the court heard from the Crown's star witness, Caitlin Coleman. She, of course, is the estranged wife of Joshua Boyle. The two were held captive in Afghanistan for 5 years. When they returned to Canada after they were freed, police got a call from Boyle that his wife was attempting to take her own life. Police have now determined that that was false, and they slapped Boyle with 19 charges that include sexual assault and physical abuse. When Coleman took the stand, she detailed how she met Boyle. She said in the beginning there was no physical abuse, but Boyle was quite controlling. He would tell her what to wear, how she should talk. He even banned her from drinking alcohol. It wasn't until they were in captivity that the physical abuse began. She said that he would hit her, he would slap her, he even punched her. When they were back in Canada, though, the abuse, she said, took a break, but then it resumed. She even described an ordeal where he slapped her and forced her to take an antidepressant. Coleman will return on Friday to continue her testimony. Boyle has maintained that he's innocent and has pleaded not guilty to the 19 charges. David Thurton, CBC News, Ottawa.
Rebate rejected. Some electric vehicle owners say they were denied a $14,000 rebate because they weren't on a government-approved list that they and some dealerships had no idea existed. After the break, more on this mystery list and the real reason why this woman thinks she didn't get approved.
They don't want to pay the rebate, and there was 100 other ways they could have canceled this program instead of leading us down a path that, made us believe we were going to receive the $14,000 rebate.
She bought an electric car banking on getting a big rebate for going green, but the woman we're about to introduce you to was just denied that money. She says it's because of eligibility requirements she didn't even know about. And as Chris Glover reports, neither did the dealer who sold her the vehicle.
Janet Stevens loves her electric car, but with its $43,000 final bill, she only bought it last year because she was eligible for a $14,000 rebate. Then this month, she was denied.
What did you think?
I was sick to my stomach. It wasn't the answer we were expecting.
In July 2018, shortly after winning the election, the PCs scrapped the Liberals' rebate but promised a grace period. To qualify, Stevens' car had to be on a dealer's lot by July 11th and plated in her driveway by September 10th. When Stevens was denied, she found out about another condition.
If a private business behaved this way, they'd be finished. Should we not be able to, expect that from our government?
Turns out her dealership was supposed to add her car to a government list of eligible vehicles.
Where's this mystery list that nobody made public so we could make sure we were on it?
It's been a mystery trying to put it all together, and I still don't have all the pieces.
Brian Hoyt is the general manager at another dealership. Both he and Stevens' dealer tell CBC Toronto they were unaware of the list until after customers were denied.
I feel like the dealership and our customers were put in a position to find themselves denied unfairly.
On July 11th, 2018, the Ministry of Transportation sent this letter advising dealers had until July 16th to get eligible vehicles on a government list.
A notice gets sent out by courier on a Wednesday in the middle of July in peak summer months with a requirement to get a list back by the 16th on the Monday. That leaves all of 3 maybe business days.
Plus, even if Hoyt and other dealers got the letter and could respond in time, he says look at the wording around the list. He and other dealers CBC spoke to assumed that referred to this government list of eligible makes and models.
The language gets significantly tighter, and we still have questions about when exactly that was communicated, how it was communicated, and when that part was tidied up.
In a statement, the Ministry of Transportation wrote the July 11th letter was emailed to dealers registered in the Grants Ontario program and manufacturers and associations who were expected to inform their dealerships.
The communication just wasn't clear enough, direct enough to be enforced the way it's being enforced.
It doesn't matter if you agree or disagree with the rebate. We entered into a contract with the government and our dealer. Two parties we're supposed to trust, and we're in this position now, due to a miscommunication between those 2 parties and through no fault of our own.
Even though she loves her electric car, she says the $14,000 hole she was not expecting makes her feel like she was thrown under the car. Chris Glover, CBC News, Oakville.
That is a lot of cash. Remember, if you have a story you would like us to look into, just send us an email, torontotips@cbc.ca. Ontario's Environmental Commissioner has harsh words for the provincial government.
I think they have a very short-term view, and they give no value to climate damage, which I think is going to change everything else. We as a country are in the 10 largest climate polluters in the world. We have a big footprint. What we do matters. It's also highly visible around the world. So I think that what we're doing in Ontario and what we may do in Canada this year puts the entire Paris Agreement at risk. And if the world can't hold together on the Paris Agreement, we are toasted, roasted, and grilled. I'm older than all of you. You're going to live to see much more of it than I will.
The final report calls Ontario's current environmental policies inadequate and frightening, particularly criticizing the government's decision to cancel the cap-and-trade system put in under the Liberals. The report is the last one being issued before the office is officially merged with the Auditor General, who Sachs says doesn't have the same priorities. Premier Doug Ford had said not a single job would be lost because of the merger, but Sachs says 12 people in her present office will soon be out of work.
We're extending Eglinton. We're making sure we're building the downtown relief line. We're helping the people of Scarborough.
Why is the Premier meddling with long-established transit plans, and why is he determined to delay and destroy transit plans that are already approved and underway?
Two letters have led to a lot of questions and concerns tonight about the future of transit in Toronto. The documents reveal the Ford government has major designs on transit in the city, from a subway upload to sweeping changes to major projects. Plans that have some concern Toronto and Queen's Park are not on the same page when it comes to the TTC's future. Now there's concern at City Hall that a lot of transit work already underway will be for nothing. So is there anything the city can do about it? As City Hall reporter Lauren Pelly explains, not really.
Listen, Doug Ford's been very clear in the campaign and now formally in a formal letter from the province of Ontario to our city. They intend to tear up the city's transit network and do whatever they want.
Councillors are now ringing alarms about the future of the Eglinton West LRT, the Scarborough subway, and the downtown relief line.
We don't want to be adding more congestion to that line before we develop a way to actually alleviate some of that through the relief line.
City staff say the projects might take longer if the province gets its way.
How are we impacted fiscally related to sunk costs?
So there will certainly be an effect on the money that we have spent.
And there's another question. If the city feels the province is derailing transit plans, is there anything council can do to stop it?
We're gonna move forward with it.
The city had little recourse when Premier Doug Ford slashed Toronto's council size during last year's election, despite protests and pushback.
The province can legally do what they want, but it's not as easy as just announcing a subway takeover.
This councillor believes the city and the mayor should fight back.
The more that we help the province upload our subway, the quicker we are going to lose out.
Mayor John Tory doesn't want to walk away.
Protests and demonstrations do not build transit. We have to be at the table talking about this.
And he did speak to Premier Doug Ford on Monday, behind closed doors.
If the end result of the discussions that are ongoing is one that is not good for Toronto, I will have no choice but to oppose it.
But how long those discussions will last and when transit riders will get a seat at the table are questions that still need answers. Lauren Pelly, CBC News, Toronto.
Our Queen's Park reporter spoke one-on-one with Transportation Minister Jeff Yurek about the province's plans and also why Ontarians should take the Ford government at their word that this isn't just political revenge on the City of Toronto.
Minister Yurek, you keep saying the province can build subways more cheaply and faster than the city. Give me some proof. When? Give me some dates and give me some amounts of money.
Well, the plan will be coming out in a short while of how we're going to do it, but you can basically look at, we can eliminate a lot of the red tape and bureaucracy that goes on with regards to the city building the TTC. There's 25 different councillors. They continually have these discussions going back and forth. They then have to ask the province for money, ask the feds for money before they can get this going forward. We can make the decisions. We can utilize, prioritize our utilities throughout the city to ensure that we're priority with our construction, and we can deliver on a much quicker timeline.
If you can deliver on a much more quicker timeline, how is changing the plans now going to make things happen any faster?
Well, we're looking at giving the areas of the province or of the Toronto and the GTA the access to the subway system that they would like. Premier Ford was quite adamant during the last campaign that not only would we upload the TTC, but we ensure that Scarborough gets the 3 stations that they would like to have, and that's what we're living. We're listening to the people out on the lake, or the Etobicoke West, and we're going to ensure that, Crosstown West, and we'll ensure that we get that built.
Okay, Eglinton West, if you want to do things more cheaply, why would you bury a subway? Why would you bury that line, especially given that it's going through Etobicoke?
Yeah, I mean, you'll take a look at our plan as we come out further, but we're also listening to the riders and the people that are affected by these infrastructure builds, and we want to make sure that we strike a balance on what's needed and what they want and how it's going to affect the communities, and also ensure they get the transit they need. That's the key point, is we're going to build the transit the riders are asking for. We're going to get that relief line built. It's going to be good for the city and good for the GTA.
How much more expensive is it going to be to go underground at Eglinton, on Eglinton West?
You will get that answer when we release our plan. It'll be forthcoming really soon.
Can you understand why maybe some people are quite skeptical that the province has the city's best interests at heart when you're not giving details about what this is all going to cost and when it's going to happen?
Well, we're right now in the middle of our terms of reference. This isn't an official announcement that we've made yet. The city asked for a letter describing of what we think of these proposals. They received that letter
letter this week, what we're thinking on that. And it's part of the ongoing negotiations. We'll continue to have this conversation with Mayor Tory and his team as we come to a conclusion for the terms of reference.
Is this really negotiations? Because you guys are going to get what you want. You're going to build the subways the way you want to build them.
It's a partnership that we're developing, a new partnership between the city and the province. We have an end goal where we'd like to get to. We want the province to get there with, or the city to get there with us, and we're going to continue to work to that solution. That's why we're continuing to have these negotiations. We could have done this months ago and just completed this project, but we want to work with the city, and we're doing so. That's why we have Michael Lindsay on board, created the terms of reference with the city, and we'll ongoing these conversations.
Why does this letter not say anything about the other projects, transit projects that are important to the City of Toronto, other LRT lines? Are you not supportive of them?
No, the letter that was written was on the request of the city on what our thoughts are on the current expansion priority projects that they have in place, and we've commented on it. It's a bigger conversation we're having with the city. We're supportive of many of the expansion of transit system in Toronto and the GTA, and that'll be forthcoming as we move down the line.
Smart Track, Waterfront LRT.
We're all talking about that as we move forward. We've had many conversations. Mayor Tory continues to bring that up. And when I have conversations with them, we know the city is talking about that, and we're listening.
What can you say to persuade people that this isn't just a political power play by the Premier Doug Ford to kind of get back at some of the people who opposed his vision for transit when he was on Toronto City Council?
Well, I think you can tell people that the current system isn't working. They're not getting the expansion that they need and want. It's been over a decade and a half. They had one expansion go forward. We're proposing and delivering on a plan, working with partnership with the city, that we are actually going to make the plans into projects, and we're going to start building these subways. So we're honest about this, and we're going to go forward and ensure that Toronto gets the subway expansion that they need.
Thanks for your time, Minister.
Thank you. Appreciate it. That's great.
Thanks.
The province has released its Sunshine List, the annual breakdown of top earners for 2018, as the Progressive Conservatives promise to cut costs for taxpayers. Opposition parties are calling out the government for its patronage appointments. Lisa Shing gives us the highlights.
Unlike the stacks of paper in previous years in the name of cost-cutting and going green, this year's Sunshine List was only released online.
We're taking a look at everything.
This list mostly reflects salaries under the Liberal government, so the PCs did not have to defend the salaries of the province's highest earners paid by taxpayers. Between 2017 and 2018, we saw a 14% increase in those earning more than $100,000 a year. That's almost 20,000 more employees. The Treasury Board president points out his government has frozen public sector wages.
We made a commitment to the people of Ontario, and we're going to continue to look at every piece of compensation.
In 2018, the top 10 highest earners were all men, and there were no people of color. Topping the list is the outgoing CEO of Ontario Power Generation, Jeffrey Lyash, who made $1.7 million, followed by Darren Smith, who manages the University of Toronto's money. He made $900,000. And Ontario Power Generation's nuclear president, Glenn Yeager, earned $0.96 million.
I think we need to hold our breath for next year when we see Mr. Ford's gravy train roll into the station.
It's pretty rich to make that criticism when your first hire is exactly the area that you're criticizing.
The Premier has been under fire for a series of patronage appointments, including Ruben Devlin, named Special Advisor to the Premier on Healthcare, making about $350,000 in a position that did not exist before. The new EQAO Chair, Cameron Montgomery, who ran for the PCs in Orleans in the last election and lost, is making $140,000 a year. And Jenny Byrne, who was Ford's Principal Secretary, was appointed to the Ontario Energy Board, making about $200,000.
What we're concerned about is making sure that taxpayers are getting value for money.
Ford himself made $112K. His Chief of Staff, Dean French, made $153,000. Lisa Shing, CBC News, Toronto.
And some familiar faces in our city made the Sunshine List. That includes our Mayor, John Tory, who made more than $192,000 last year. Not as much as Toronto's Auditor General, though. Beverly Romeo Beeler made almost $223,000. Police Chief Mark Saunders made $344,000, while Fire Chief Matthew Pegg's salary last year was approximately $256,000. You can browse the Sunshine List for yourself, sort by department or Crown Corporation, even search Sunshine Lists going back to 1996. Just head to cbc.ca/Toronto. Taking a short break, stay with us. We will be right back. Things will be a little busier than usual around the Rogers Centre tomorrow. That's because our Jays kick off their season and they'll have a new face at the helm.
We're going to compete every day. We're going to give it all we can, and you're going to see them. You're going to see guys running the bases hard, you know, and that's what you're going to see. That's all we can control, and that's what we're going to do.
New manager Charlie Montoyo sounding confident and upbeat, talking to the media today, and the players were getting in some practice time before tomorrow's opener. The Jays kick off their 43rd season against the Detroit Tigers. And look at her, she's ready for us with the baseball.
It's like I knew you were going to go there, Dwight.
I was going to ask you, open dome, closed dome. I'm going to say closed because the weather's not really open dome weather yet.
Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of twofold. You're right, Dwight. Probably the temperatures, even though it's mild tomorrow, not where they'd want the dome open, but we also have a chance of showers in there. We're going to be seeing some scattered showers early in the day. It's still a risk. There could be a few around into the afternoon. Right about 8 degrees. I think we're going to go 1 degree warmer than that, but at 337, that's what I'm looking at. And the wind's a little bit breezy. It's going to take getting used to, that new manager. And I'm going to miss seeing Gibby walking around downtown in his cowboy boots all the time. But I've got an open mind on this one. I hope you do too. Our average high at this time of year is 6.6, and today unofficially we were about a degree over that. Our average low, they were pretty similar to where we should be. Having a look at the temperatures around the region now, look at Windsor, still holding on at double digits there at 10 degrees, 5 degrees in the city. And we do have a system, it looks like it's to the north and west of us. Well, part of it is. However, we're going to see some of this moisture. Not a lot of it, so that's why I'm talking about some scattered showers moving in, but coming in over the next, well, through the overnight hours. So for the next 12 to 24, it's going to have an impact on us. So overnight, clear to start. Then the clouds roll in, becoming cloudy through the overnight hours. Tomorrow morning, showers developing. bit spotty in nature, and then we'll see those moving through. And as we get towards the afternoon hours, it's more the clouds that you'll notice. So again, not a lot here, probably looking at 2, 3 to 5 millimeters of rain locally. A few spots could see a bit more than that. It moves out into Friday as another ridge of high pressure is going to come in, but only to kind of start the day Friday, and then in the afternoon the clouds come right back at us. This system on the weekend is going to be very interesting because as temperatures fall off Friday night into Saturday, we could get into a mix, some snow to the north of the GTA, maybe even a little bit dipping in, and then Saturday along the lakeshore it should mostly be showers, but if that just pushes a little further south, we're talking about getting a little bit of light snow coming through. I think it's mostly going to be rain for the city and for the GTA, 15 to 20 millimeters though, so that's more significant into Saturday. Overnight tonight, the temperatures above freezing, a little bit anyway, and tomorrow afternoon highs 8 to 9 degrees, but keeping those clouds even in the afternoon. Friday, our break before that system comes in Saturday, and if you're looking for the better day, or at least the drier day of the weekend, it's going to be the second half, but those temperatures will be coming back down, Dwight.
Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
Dwight, I'm here at night 2 of the Canadian Screen Awards, honoring your favorite dramas and comedies. And after the break, I will be joining you with a real Canadian icon that just happens to be a star of definitely one of, I think, our viewers' favorite comedies. I'll be right back in a minute after the break.
It's one of the biggest weeks for arts in Canada. The Canadian Screen Awards are happening this week, celebrating the best in TV storytelling and film. Deanna Sumanak-Johnson is on the red carpet for us and joins us right now. Look at that, Deanna. Oh, you got somebody we really like with you there.
So you got somebody we really like with you. I have a man here who could give a lesson or two about storytelling, Mr. Eugene Levy. Thank you so much for joining us, sir.
Well, thank you. Pleasure to be here.
We were just chit-chatting about his friendship with Ivan Reitman and all the great times you guys have had. Tell me a little bit about, we've just found out bittersweet news for all the many, many fans of Schitt's Creek last week that the 6th season will be your last. You're one of the biggest nominees tonight and again on Sunday.
Yeah.
What does it feel like now? Everybody asking you the same question.
Well, I mean, it was It was a relatively kind of easy decision because it had been kind of mapped out to end when it does. It was the most natural place to end the series, and 6 years is where we are kind of calling it quits. And it's kind of bittersweet in a way because we're going to miss everybody. I mean, it's we're a big family going to work, you know, every year shooting the show, and that's going to be, you know, kind of tough. But we're all very, very excited about getting this season underway. I think it's going to be the best season yet.
Tell me a little bit. A few days ago, I got a chance to speak to Brad Schwartz from Pop TV, who, of course, picked up your show in the States, where it became a huge, huge hit.
Yeah.
He called it a historic achievement in storytelling and character development. How does it rank among the achievements in Eugene Levy's life?
Well, it's definitely, it's way up there. I mean, we've had, you know, years ago we were on SCTV, you know, for 8 years, and that was a case of the inmates running the asylum. We had a ball. We were kind of young. We were kind of silly and stupid, and we worked 22-hour days, and we just loved every second of it. Schitt's Creek is, to me, has, you know, the same degree of quality that we tried to put into SCTV. And I credit my son Dan, who's been show running for the last few years, has just taken the show in a really terrific direction. I'm so proud of him. And you know, it's I feel good about it. I feel good to be at this point in my career to have a show like Schitt's Creek.
Absolutely, that all the kids love. Congratulations, sir. Always such an honor and privilege for you to speak to us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Dwight?
To the other, thank you for that.
You're welcome.
British Prime Minister Theresa May says she'll step down if Parliament approves her deal to leave the European Union. It's the latest twist in the Brexit drama that seems to never end. Chris O'Neill-Yates has the story.
The votes on the 8 alternative options have been counted, but MPs have not been able to agree on a way forward. None of the options got a majority. They will now have to whittle down the best options and try to reach a majority, taking that process likely into next week. Now, earlier in the day, Prime Minister Theresa May said she's prepared to quit earlier than she had intended in order to do what she says is right for the country and the Conservative Party. It's all about getting her Brexit deal through on a third vote. May was meeting with backbenchers in an attempt to muster support for her deal when she asked everyone in the room to back the deal so she could deliver on the decision of the British people and leave the EU in a smooth and orderly fashion. Some anti-EU MPs had indicated earlier they would get behind her deal in a third vote if she agreed to set a date to step down. She hasn't been specific about when she'll go, but it will probably be late spring, early summer. May could put a withdrawal agreement to a vote tomorrow or Friday, but the Speaker of the House has told her that she must bring back something significantly different than the plan that was already voted down. Now, in a blow to May late this afternoon, the Democratic Unionist Party of Northern Ireland, which supports May's minority government, said it will not support her deal because it is not happy with the Irish backstop provision. Government has until April 12th to come up with another plan to put to the EU if May cannot get her plan through Parliament. Chris O'Neill-Yates, CBC News, London.
They're turning milk bags into a better night's sleep. After the break, we'll introduce you to the Milk Bag Club and explain why milk bags are a pretty good material to make mattresses.
Toronto, or Toronto if you're from here, is not only the most diverse city in the world, but also a city brimming with culture and entertainment. Our Toronto is all about bringing you distinct characters and characteristics that makes this one of the best places in the world to live. Because our Toronto is your Toronto.
I like the music. Tonight, Colette is here to shine a light on some good news coming out of our town. It's all about people helping to build a greater Toronto, and I'm guessing today's story has something to do with the fact that you're holding empty milk bags.
That's right,
Okay.
It does. Who knew that Canadian milk bags were so special? But they are. They're strong, they're UV resistant, mildew resistant, and they have insulating properties as well. I mean, I didn't know that.
I did not know that either.
It makes them a really excellent material to weave together into mattresses, if you can believe that. I visited Williams Parkway Senior Public School in Brampton, where some students volunteer over their recess breaks to make these mattresses for folks in underprivileged countries who might otherwise be sleeping directly on a cold dirt floor. Do you guys try them out yourself?
Yes.
You all know what it feels like? So what you're making?
It's really good.
Am I going to wish I had this?
Yes.
That's pretty amazing. Very cool. You guys should all be so proud of yourselves. Can you show me how to do one? Can I try?
Yeah. So it's kind of like a pattern. So you're gonna loop over and then under.
Through, and you do a few and then pull. And then you just slide that over a bit.
Yes. In the beginning, I wasn't really sure about it.
Yeah. How come?
But because it sounded a little boring.
Yeah.
So I tried it for a couple of days and I really liked it. And I decided to continue, and we actually have a few photos. We actually sent these mats, and we were able to, a family showed us that they have one of our mats, and it felt really good.
Like everyone's willing to give up their recess, or whether it's today lunch hour or whatever, to do this. Why do you think they do it?
I like it here. We get to all be with our friends. It's
Right.
just as fun as outside. And we know we're helping people, like just by doing something with each other, having fun. And we're helping people around the world as well.
You get kids making friends at all three levels, and then you get kids crossing barriers. Like there's a really academic group of girls. They hang out with the kids that aren't so academic, and a lot of kids end up being friends with kids they would never have the opportunity to be friends with. There's a lot of things going on in schools that are very good news, and it never gets out.
Well, today it is.
Yeah, no, that's good.
Thanks for letting us come visit. And you know, it takes them a month, because they're doing it on recess, to make 2 or 3 of these mattresses, and it takes about 700 of these milk bags to do it, and that's because their quality control is so good. You can do it at about 400, but they're up to 700 because they want them to be nice and dense and as comfortable as they can be as well.
I love that story.
I love those
And I'm glad we're
kids,
bringing it
that
to
teacher.
folks. It makes you feel good. So how can people get in touch if they have ideas and, you know, they want to be part of our Greater Toronto series that we're trying to do here?
Yes, and we would love to hear from you. So you can send us an email and all the details to greatertoronto@cbc.ca, and keep these awesome stories coming.
All right. We had all that time for the good stuff. Now you're going to give
You
us
want-
some rain tomorrow or something?
Oh, I thought you wanted me to show you how to weave.
Oh, let's see it. Oh, that's simple.
You got to do a lot of these, though.
All right, big hand clap for those kids.
But yes,
Rain.
let's talk about what we're going to see with those showers moving in. So we do have the cloud cover coming in overnight tonight, showers developing by tomorrow morning. So the temperature is going to stay just above freezing through the overnight hours. Winds are going to pick up tomorrow from the southwest and getting a little bit gusty at times through the day. So we will see kind of scattered showers, not a lot of precipitation here, Dwight, but still the possibility of even in the afternoon having some showers hanging in there with the high of 9.
Thank you for that. Thank you for this, too. It is so cool what these
you can
kids
keep
are up
that.
to. That's our show for tonight. Thank you for watching. Mike Wise has you covered tonight at 11.